I am of the opinion that Amanda Burdine murdered her mother, Debbie Collier. Now, I got to thinking, Amanda Burdine's narrative makes no sense. So if it makes no sense, I cannot give credibility to it. So I must throw that in the trash. Now, here's my theory. To formulate my theory, I had to ask myself, who would have known what Debbie Collier would do the following day? Who would have time to make small talk to learn her business the following day? Who would most likely do that? And I came up with Amanda. Once I came up with that, I had to ask myself, why would she call 911 and make these statements? I'm going to roll it.
I'm not trying to be a smart aleck here or anything, but do I need to hire a private detective, maybe? Ma'am, I thought about it, and I have her iCloud information. I know that and correct me if I'm wrong, but if the phone is turned off, it would still track her. But I do have her. I've got her Apple ID and what I thought was her password, but the password isn't working. I don't know if y'all have technology or whatever, but I do have. I don't know. I mean, you know. All right, hold on one second, okay? Please call me back. Okay, thank you.
Now, as you can see, early in the game, out of the blue, she's talking about should she hire an investigator. I found this statement strange for one reason. You slap on your ass with no money, and all of a sudden, you talking about hiring an investigator? The only way that you, Amanda Burdine, could state that if you knew that you had some type of newfound wealth, although maybe small, but bigger than what you got right now, that you could hire an investigator. Now, the second statement, you call 911 and stated that you have her iCloud account. And maybe could y'all track her phone even if it's off? Now, I found that statement very suspect because at that time, I believe you was trying to find out if the phone was off, could they still track it? Because you got the phone. You need the phone. It's information in there that you need dealing with your mother's personal financial records, etc., etc. See, a killer, a random killer, don't have time. These would be sending text messages, sending you some money, talking about a key under a flower pot. I don't think Debbie Collier would be concerned about sending you some money when her life is in danger. That requires me to think that Debbie Collier was a nut. I don't think she was the nut. So I have to ask myself, if my life was in danger, would I be thinking about texting somebody saying they won't let me go when I can clearly state a name? Terry won't let me go. Joanne won't let me go. The brother in the hood won't let me go. The black guy won't let me go. The hillbilly won't let me go. But she says, they? I believe that was you. And let me tell you why. It's my belief that you had a motive because you was on the life insurance policy and you knew this. Now, but let me tell you how I think you was able to get the upper hand on your mother. I'm dealing with you right now. You had help, but right now I'm dealing with you on what I think happened. Because you already knew through small talk, talking to your mother that night, that evening, you already knew her plans for the next day. I believe you got in the back of the cargo and you hid there. See, the police is operating under the assumption that she was alone. I don't think she was alone. I think that you or your boyfriend was in the back of that car, that Pacific SUV, the very back. I pulled that vehicle up and I said, if it's roomy in the front to where you could take somebody and pull them out of there and pull them to the back, you know, like just take them out the driver's seat and boom, put them right on the ground right there. That my theory fits. And I pulled that vehicle up. Plenty of room, plenty of room. Now, you hid in the back of the vehicle or somebody, but I think it was you. When she backed out the Family Dollar, well, let me back up. I see in that video, I think this is what I see, but this is my opinion. When she got into the vehicle after she exited the Family Dollar, I think I saw her jerk back like this, as if somebody grabbed her face. You see, grabbed her face. This is what I think. But at some point, I believe you already had the phone before she left home. You had the phone. And I believe that when Debbie got back into the car, let me back up. I believe that Debbie left her phone in the car. Okay? And when she got back in the car, she paused because she didn't have the phone. And at that time, you could have sent that message to, I believe you sent, I am of the opinion, I don't believe, I'm of the opinion that you sent that message and that money to yourself from the Venmo. But one thing for sure is that you was in the car or somebody was in that vehicle with her when she left the home. And I'm going to tell you, at some point when she backed out and she proceeded to leave, that vehicle stopped. And at that time, I believe you or somebody took her out the driver's seat by force. That's the transition. And became the driver. Okay? So you proceed to leave. The reason why I say that somebody had to subdue her in the vehicle, because I don't see why she was stopped in the woods where she was at unless somebody already had control of that vehicle. And after they got control of the vehicle, they drove her there and forced her out. Now, because she had those things, that was a second thought. And they used those things. I don't know how she died. Could have been lighter fluid placed in her mouth as she screamed, pulling the tree, somebody squeezing lighter fluid in her mouth, killing her, drowning her, because it would do that. That's just my opinion. Because I got to thinking, how would someone get her to stop this vehicle on the road as she driving and force her into her unless they was already in the vehicle when she left home? Now, at that point, the murder was carried out. The reason why I am of the opinion that you, Amanda Birding, killed her, because just like in Truckee, California, Kaylee Rodney's phone went missing. And the only person who would have that is, in my opinion, Samantha Smith, who was closer to her. She needed to get that phone, just like you needed to retain that phone, because you stated in the 911 call that you have new information, and you kept saying, and then you did make a statement that you're not in your right frame of mind. But one thing stood out for me is that you had her iCloud account and you thought you had a password. You either had her password or you don't. And see, this is why you got that phone. It's something in that phone that you want. Now, today, after you see this video, you may get rid of that phone, but you got that phone. And when she left the home, I believe you took her identification out of her purse, as well as some other credit cards, because you wanted access to that after she died, because you wanted to shortly use those. You needed access to those. See, I don't think just on that day she just happened to leave her ID. That didn't make sense. You had to remove those articles without her knowledge. Now, you was pressed for money. So my attention is turned to you based on what I just said. But also you did an interview where you was pretending to be crying, but you couldn't get the tears to come out. When I really looked close at you, how big your head was and the way your eyes looked, I realized you was a nut. I'm just being honest, just my opinion. But because everybody's operating under the presumption that she was alone in a car, they can't explain how that car stopped on that road there. So when you leave these things unaddressed, you can never figure out something. Hopefully, some things that they test at the scene of the crime can shed light. But so far, in my opinion, you was the only one that could know the order of the day of Debbie Collier through small talk. That's just my premise. You were so desperate for money, it is said that you're a druggie. And I believe it. Could be wrong, but I believe it. You look like one, you act like one. Your boyfriend purportedly states that you stole money. I believe him. He said something that you got control of his phone, you went for it. So when I look at these events, the situation, you the number one suspect. You have a motive. You have a reason. You had the opportunity. And the fact that you never mentioned the Venmo transfer from 911 initially, and you waited to call 911, to me, in my mind, based on the facts, you that motherfucker that killed her. Plain and simple. I can't think of no reason why a random killer will send you some money. You sent that message, in my opinion. You sent that money, in my opinion. This is why the police looked at you as a suspect and got a search warrant. Now, I'm pretty sure now that you know that they got a search warrant, you ain't really talking to them anymore. This is similar to Truckee, California, when you kept calling them trying to be close to the information, thinking that they was going to tell you something. And they didn't. Because you was just a dumbass to think they would tell you something. But that's my take on it. And they're going to get you. They're going to get you. They just need a motive. And I believe if they look close, you the beneficiary. You had the most to gain from her death. And if you go ahead and confess and cut a deal, you might get a sweet deal, because our criminal system is a business. So you should go try to get the best deal that you can get. I'm signing off.